Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot, or of course, welcome to the channel if you're brand new here. Thank you for joining me today for a reading on a topic I don't believe I've actually ever done before. And of course, as you can tell by the title you just clicked on, today's topic is who you're meant to become, plus advice on getting there. So it's kind of a hybrid tapping into Akashic Records type reading, and the other half of it is a little bit of a life lesson type reading. Basically, we're going to take a glimpse into part of the soul contract of this particular lifetime on Earth for you, and kind of like what is the trajectory for your path, aka, like I said, who you're meant to become. So without further ado, let us pick our pile leaders. So Spirit, if you could come forward for our piles today and help guide us to the right pile leaders for them to choose from. Thank you. All right, I'm feeling this one for pile 1. This one right here is calling for pile 2. And last but not least for pile 3. This one caught my eye. So let's unveil the cards together for pile 1 today. Your pile leader is, we have a landscape. Number 42, Tree of Souls, Collective Wisdom, Kinship Group, Library. And I might need to make some adjustments here with my decor. So I'll actually put the candle a little bit off the screen. Pile 2 is another landscape. We have Aurora Garden, number 10, Beginning, Initiate, Origin. So we're going to kind of do it this way. All 3 might be landscapes with this particular deck. And then for pile 3, we have, yes, another landscape. So everything's landscape today. Pile 3, your card is number 8, the Liminal Dance, Delicacy, Fragility, and Transience. So once again, actually, we're going to move everything a little bit. There we go. So just to reiterate, everybody, pile 1 over here on the left is Tree of Souls with the keywords Collective Wisdom, Kinship Group, Library. Pile 2 down here in the middle is Aurora Garden, number 10, Beginning, Initiate, Origin. And pile 3 is the Liminal Dance, number 8, with Delicacy, Fragility, and Transience, though of course you're always welcome to pause on this part of the reading if you need more time to decide what pile you would like read for you. If you're new to pick a card readings, I always just recommend close your eyes, take a deep cleansing breath, hold it for maybe about 5 seconds, and then let the deep cleansing breath out. And when you open your eyes again, what are you first drawn to? What feels right in your gut? And that's the card or the pile I recommend you go with. But whatever your method, of course, drop down to the description box below or the top pin comment beneath the video. Find the timestamp there for your pile, and I'll see you in our little chat about who you're meant to become, plus advice on getting there. See you there. Hello there, my lovely pile number 1. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about who you're meant to become, as well as advice on getting there. As you recall, your pile leader you chose was the very beautiful number 42, Tree of Souls, with the keywords Collective Wisdom, Kinship Group, and Library. So, a lot of symbolism in this card about collecting knowledge with others, a lot about connecting with others in general. So right off the bat, I think a major part of your life path here on Earth, pile 1, is about the knowledge that you extract from others and learning from them, and also the knowledge that people extract from you and learning from you. So it could be that you found that there's a lot of mentorship type roles perhaps that you've adopted in your life so far. If not already, then maybe perhaps in the future there's a lot of like teaching going on. It could even be that maybe you already, like, your whole career path is perhaps even being a teacher of some sort, something along those lines. Or even if you're not specifically a teacher, pile 1, in whatever role you do play in life, you tend to fulfill that kind of teacher role, is what I'm seeing. People looking up to you as a mentor, people looking to you as someone who knows things. I don't know if maybe you tend to be kind of a Renaissance man or woman who has gathered a lot of different skills across your life. You know, like some people are really, really good or really just interested in like a few things. But then there is, like the phrase I used, a Renaissance man or a Renaissance woman who gather a lot of different skills. Okay, maybe you're good at painting and music and writing and math and, you know, insert hobby or skill here. It's kind of what I'm seeing from you. And I think you're almost kind of like the Tree of Souls pile 1, where you're like the repository of knowledge for other people. So I think at least just from that first card, I can tell that's part of who you're meant to become, is kind of a wise, sagely, almost. For some reason, the animal that is popping up right now is like an owl, and I don't know if it's just because culturally we see owls as like, oh, they're very wise, like the wise old owl, or you know, they're also sometimes seen as, you know, messengers from the beyond. They're also sometimes associated with the goddess Athena, who of course is a goddess of knowledge, right? And so something along those lines. You know, I don't know if maybe you know, resonate well with Athena, or maybe you have kind of known that you've had an animal spirit that's like an owl, or maybe you just really like owls in general. Something along those lines, though, with that animal spirit with the owl. So, and they even roost in trees, right? Speaking of, you know, like Tree of Souls. So let's gather some more cards. I think what I'm going to do first, pile 1, is let's draw your tarot first. I've been trying a new method of readings where I do the tarot first instead of the oracle cards. So let's begin the reading with that. Spirit coming forward for my wonderful pile 1, tapping into their Akashic records. Could you please tell me more about who they're meant to become in this life? Thank you. 5 cards, maybe kind of a life story. We'll read it almost kind of like a novel's main character is what I want to try today, pile 1. So, a novel's main character. We're all the hero of our own story. Very beautiful. We have the Emperor first. The inciting incident. Okay. Emperor is masculine energy. An emperor is someone who is logical, who has authority. You can see just, you know, holding the power scepter and the rod he has, and the, technically, I'm not sure exactly what you'd call the ball in his hand, but it is like an object of power, right? And he has the crown. So, masculine energy, it could be that you're more of a doer than a thinker. Okay, not that you're not a thinker, of course, because you need to, I'm sure you've had to, like, logically think through a lot of different problems in life, pile 1, but with masculine energy, we think of action rather than passivity. Okay. And then the second card here is another masculine energy card. We have the King of Pentacles, someone who has mastery over earth around them, okay? Because pentacles are associated with the element of earth. We think of finances, career, material like home protection, things like that, okay? Number 3, the heart of the matter, another pentacles, another masculine figure, okay? We have the card of reserving our resources, okay? Sometimes it can lean into a card, it's kind of a negative connotation that it has, and sometimes I wish it didn't, because the 4 of Pentacles can be a very positive card too, but sometimes a negative connotation can mean, oh, you're stingy, or you're being like a Scrooge, right? Is you're holding back too much, but the 4 of Pentacles can also be a card of self-preservation, because sometimes, you know, you do need to protect your own pile 1 in order to survive, or in order to make sure that, you know, you have your cup filled before you fill other people's cups. So, also, I don't know if you are like an earth sign, either in your sun sign or your moon sign, but that's a lot of pentacles, pile 1. So, even too with like the Tree of Souls, we think it's like an earthly thing. Okay, like a tree. And the Emperor, I don't exactly remember what the elemental association with the Emperor is, but that also kind of gives me earth vibes, because it is, you know, someone who is like logical and authority and gets things done and like is action oriented. I guess it's kind of maybe more fire too, but especially with the red robes that he has. And then we have the Star reversed. Okay, so that might be a little bit of a struggle in your life. The Star reversed is lacking hope or faith in things. I don't know if maybe potentially at some point in your life you have struggled with spirituality. Maybe you have been so entrenched in the physical, pile 1, that coming to spirituality has been a little bit of a roadblock for you, and perhaps it's what you're working through right now. But it can also be symbolic, that's the right word. of someone who maybe lacks hope or faith in themselves. Maybe self-confidence has been kind of a struggle you've had in your life, pile one, things like that. And then last but not least, we have the Queen of Wands. Speaking of confidence, because that's what the Queen of Wands is all about. She is someone who is self-assured. She's also really the first female court card that we have in this entire spread, though we do have technically feminine energy with the star because, you know, but I mean, everyone before that is a dude. So lots of masculine energy, a little bit of maybe working more towards feminine energy has been kind of a trajectory of your path. Pile one is what I'm seeing. I think that's maybe where some of your struggles come in. I don't know if you maybe for some of you, I'm almost seeing that at some point in your life, it's potentially like you lacked a father figure, or there was like issues with a father figure in your life. So you had to do a lot of early on, like take on a lot of masculine energy type roles yourself. Like maybe your mother was a single mother, and so you kind of had to do more fatherly things or like husbandly things for your mother. Like fixing things is like a really traditional gender role we think of course. You know, gender roles are always changing, but traditionally, like, you know, a husband or a father would fix things in the home. So maybe tasks like that kind of fell to you, pile one. So naturally, it seems like, you know, you have kind of had to embody a lot of that masculine energy from a young age is what I'm hearing from your spirit guides and what they're telling me from the Akashic records. And that can be a really, really good thing, pile one, because it means you're self-sufficient. It means that you're really good about taking action. It means that you're really good about being courageous and brave with things. You know, think of everything you associate with positive masculinity. I see you embodying those traits. However, because earlier on, there's such an abundance of masculine energy, I think, like I was saying earlier, part of who you're meant to become is leaning more into feminine energy. I don't know if it's, you know, it depends on your gender, pile one. You know, I could be speaking right now to someone who is a man. I could be speaking to someone right now who is a woman, right? And so, you know, either way, though, a healthy balance in life, no matter what your gender, is a balance of both energies, both masculine and feminine. So part of who you're meant to become is leaning more into that femininity, right? Okay. So, you know, maybe for you, it kind of differs, everybody watching this, but for you, it could be maybe leaning more into, you know, thinking about things like, more nurturing type roles. Okay. You know, maybe if you're planning to have children or you already have children, nurturing in that way, or maybe if you're not planning to have children, you know, maybe nurturing, say like you're interested in volunteering to help animals. Okay. Things like that, more on the creative feminine energy side of things. And two, because of, like I was saying earlier, I kind of skipped over that, I'm sorry, pile one, where I was talking earlier, maybe you struggled with spirituality earlier on in life. I think because you have such an abundance of both masculine energy and pentacles energy in the very beginning of the reading, right? I think part of who you're meant to become, if you're not already on the way there, is someone who leans more into spirituality rather than being so much entrenched in the physical with all that earth energy in the beginning of the reading, more so into hope and faith with the star, which is reversed right now. So that tells me that I think a lot of you are still kind of on that path. Maybe you're just starting to dabble into spirituality and topics like this and whatnot. And that, you know, that could have stemmed from multiple things. It could have been maybe you just were raised with not a lot of spirituality. It could have been maybe you were kind of like fell out of spirituality, even if that was a thing that was a part of your family culture growing up, things like that. But I do see like that's part of it, is you're supposed to become even more spiritual than you already are. And two, with the Queen of Wands, I see someone who is meant to blossom into confident feminine energy, okay, especially fire. And it's interesting because once again, I don't exactly remember the elemental association with the Emperor, but at least the vibes he's giving off to me intuitively are very fiery type energies, right? We have the sun, he's wearing red, he has a ram on his shoulder, and Aries in astrological correspondences is one of the signs of fire, okay? And fire is also the suit of wands, like the Queen of Wands at the end here. So it's interesting because pile one, you have fire at the beginning and you have fire at the end and lots of earth in between. Okay, so it's almost one of those paths where it's like you kind of had it right at the beginning with that Emperor energy. You had it already right with the masculine version of fire, okay? Ambition, courage, action, like I was saying. But I think part of that trajectory is tying this with that feminine energy thing we talked about earlier, is more passive fire with that Queen of Wands at the end. Internal confidence, internal self-assurance, working maybe a little bit on things like a Queen of Wands can sometimes be seen as someone who is very charismatic. She's very like socially graceful because she's someone that just exudes a lot of warmth. You know, she's kind of like a Queen of Swords that way, pile one. Queen of Swords is, you know, she's verbally very skilled, but she's a little bit colder than the Queen of Wands. But the Queen of Wands is all about being that warm, bright beacon, but in a feminine way compared to the fiery emperor we had earlier. Okay, so leaning more into feminine energy is one major theme here. We also talked about, like I said, just to summarize everything so far, leaning more into spirituality, maybe having come from a little bit more material-focused life earlier on, okay? And then, two, we have, because of the abundance of pentacles, pile one, a lot of who you're meant to become is related to your career and your finances, okay? We have a King of Pentacles who's all about the mastery of earth. He's someone who is very good about manifesting external success with money and jobs, okay? So maybe that's been a little bit of a struggle earlier on in your life, but at least part of your life lesson of who you're meant to become, pile one, is more along the lines of someone who, you know, becomes like at the top of their career. They own a business that's very successful, something along those lines, okay? And then the Four of Pentacles is someone who reserves money, someone who is good about withholding resources or like being careful with their money. So maybe earlier on in life you struggled a little bit more with being careful with your money. Maybe you spent too much, things like that. It happens to a lot of people, especially when you're first learning how to manage money, of course, right? But the Four of Pentacles is someone who knows, okay, this is how much money I have to spend. I can't spend more than this. This is what I'm going to reserve. This is the little piggy bank I'm going to put to the side for the future. Okay, so that's also part of who you're meant to become, is someone very wise with money, very skilled with career. And even that King of Pentacles energy leans into that mentorship thing I mentioned before with your Tree of Souls card, pile one. I think a lot of your mentorship opportunities and your teaching opportunities are related to your career, either, like I said, as a teacher, or you are a mentor of some sort to someone within your career field, or maybe multiple people over your lifespan, okay? So yeah, we have that. Just to summarize everything so far, pile one, who you're meant to become is kind of a wise, sagely, very balanced between masculine and feminine energy, more spiritual person who is more internally confident about who they are, okay? Someone who's as good about thinking as they are doing, and someone who is just as good about protecting and taking action as they are holding back and nurturing things, okay? Balancing those energies. We haven't even gotten to your other oracle cards yet, so let's grab some of those. I have 2 archetypes decks I wanted to use today, which is perfect for this kind of reading. It's kind of what inspired me to pick this topic today. So first, from the Citadel Oracle, Spirit leaning from the Akashic records for pile one. Who else are they meant to become? We have the business savvy, balanced energies. We have air, a little bit of air energy. The captain, taking command and teamwork. What did I just tell you earlier with the Tree of Souls? I was like, oh, I think you're there's something about like sharing knowledge with other people. Teamwork, and a captain is a leader, taking command. Like that King of Pentacles energy and that Emperor energy. Pile one, you're supposed to be a boss, I think, or a manager of some sort. Or even if it's not technically related to your job, you're meant to take leadership roles. That's just you as a soul, is what I'm seeing here from this pile, okay? You know, you're someone who guides. You're the North Star for other people, okay? You nurture them with your feminine energy. You protect them and give authority with your masculine energy. That's part of what you're meant to learn to do if you haven't already done so. You're supposed to be, either a boss babe or a boss man. So I don't know if there's really equivalent to a boss babe on like a masculine version of that term, but We'll just use boss man, I guess, but feel free to correct me in the comments if there is one. But a boss Chad, I don't know. I don't want to get too slangy, but oh boy, I tried to shuffle this deck back here, and the cards went everywhere. One moment, pile one. Whoopsie daisy. Move my chair. Okay, we're going to redo that. So we're shuffling the Archetypes deck. And let's hope I do it well this time. The bane of having tiny hands with big decks. Okay, let's see what else. Who else are you meant to become? This one right here. Interesting. Child magical. Light attributes. Seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things. The belief that everything is possible. We'll talk about that with the star because that's very similar. And then shadow attributes. Pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles. Believing that energy and action are not required for growth. So pile one. This relates to the star card that we just talked about earlier. Okay. In fact, I'll put it right above the star card. And this depends on where you're at in your journey right now, because everybody watching this might be different, pile one. However, you are meant to become somebody who is optimistic, who sees the silver lining in things, okay? Who looks at the mundane and sees the magical, hence child magical. Remember before when I said something about the star reverse where it was like, oh, it's like you lack hope or faith in things. And I read that kind of as a spirituality thing, but also there's a side to the star reverse where it's like having a lack of hope or faith in oneself or the potential for things, okay? Maybe earlier in life, and maybe up until this point, you've kind of been dealing with some pessimistic type tendencies, which is not necessarily a flaw, pile one, but part of who you're meant to become is someone who throws out pessimism and leans more towards optimism, okay? Instead of seeing the glass half empty, seeing it half full. If you're already there, well then congrats, you've already kind of accomplished that part of your life lesson, but I think part of what I'm hearing is it might have been like earlier on in life you had to deal with a lot of disappointments and it's like things just never seemed to work out. And that kind of trained you, almost pile one, to believe or disbelieve in the possibility of things getting better. But I think once you start having success, or maybe you already kind of had that success with your career and this financial related stuff with these pentacles, that will help build that hope or that faith in the potential and the possibility of things to go right and for things to go well for you. And I think that will also build some of that feminine energy and that Queen of Wands energy within you of feeling confident within oneself. I think you're someone who tends to really value, the proof of being in the pudding, okay? You really value in evidence, okay? You need to see it to believe it almost is kind of what I'm getting off of you from this particular reading, pile one. And so it's like, in order to believe in the potential of the possibilities, it's like the universe finally had to kind of throw something your way to be like, here you go. There is potential. There is possibility. There is a reason to be optimistic. Okay. So things like that. Let's grab your last oracle card. We have the Lantern Oracle. This will kind of talk about a life lesson, maybe more of a struggle. It's a fantastic life lesson deck. We have this card right here. Very interesting. This card comes up a lot lately, most of my readings. Number 35, the presence of absence. Hold what is absent in the presence of your love. And once again, we have an image of... Now, this is technically meant to depict a widow with, it seems like her husband passed away recently, so his picture is in the background. But remember I was saying earlier, I think some of you might have had a single mother family and a father was not present, okay, for whatever reason. That kind of leans into maybe you having to adapted or evolved a lot of those masculine energy tendencies when you were young, having to play that role a little bit. However, this card is also about, when things leave our life, be it, loved ones, be it a certain job, be it, whatever we might lose that is precious to us. It's up to us to reinvigorate the energy we poured into whoever that person was or whatever that particular thing that we valued was, and find new ways for it to manifest. So, for example, the widow loses her husband, so she pours the love that she had for him into their shared grandchildren and their children. Okay, that's what that particular card is all about. So relating that as to, who you're meant to become, I think because of family-related issues earlier on in life, pile 1, and yeah, like I said, I think that's maybe where many of you had to have like a single-parent home. Here, I'm gonna, just one moment here. I'm gonna tap in with your spirit guides. They're saying you had to make do with very little. And they mean that potentially both in terms of finances and safety and like, financial stability in general as a child, but also in terms of love. I think maybe you had to, like, your parents were a little bit absent, even like the one that, say, like it was like a single mother situation. Your mother was working so much that she didn't really have as much time for you as, like, say, most mothers would for their kids, because she was so focused on like the financial side of things, just kind of keeping everybody afloat. And so it's like you've had to learn things like, what's a good example? I'm trying to think of a good example here, pile 1. Like how to pour that energy of maternal love into other things. So maybe there was some sort of lesson, and this depends on whether or not, you've had kids or not, or if you intend to have kids or not. I know everybody's kind of different on that particular path in life, but like say that you do have kids, pile 1, and it's like you almost kind of had to relearn, like, what does a stereotypical, balanced family look like? Say, like, for the example of your mother was a single mother, so you didn't know what it was like to grow up in a household with both a father and a mother around, and then in your generation, your partner did stick around, and so it was like you relearning, okay, this is what it's like to have 2 parents in the family, and learning to love, like in that way, kind of, like being able to actually pour more of that maternal love and kind of that feminine energy we were talking about, whether you're a man or a woman, things like that, pouring that maternal love into your children that you maybe kind of didn't lack as a kid necessarily, but because, you might have had a single parent, they weren't able to provide as much of that for you as like most households would have, just because of the necessity of like financial stability and things like that. I know it's a very hyper-specific example, pile 1. It might be kind of different for every one of you, but part of who you're meant to become is, kind of rounding the whole way back, is someone who shares that maternal feminine energy, love. Okay? I don't know if it's like you work with children or you have kids of your own, but something along those lines where it might not, like I said, it might not even be just kids. It could also be like animals. Maybe you volunteer for animals, or like you work with animals for a job, something along those lines. Okay. And in finding and sharing maternal love, feminine energy love in ways that are not typical. Okay. So maybe that's like having to share more maternal love with people in like a friendship group. Okay. Things like that, rather than, like the stereotypical we think of like a mother to a child, things like that. And then let's finish the reading, pile 1, with final advice. Let's do 3 cards of advice. I apologize. I got so invested in the Oracle cards that I forgot about the advice part. But we did talk about who you're meant to become. Let's talk about advice and getting there. So we have the 5 of Swords, which is about conflict. Okay. Let's get some more context with the other cards. We have the Hermit reversed, which is about coming out of your shell, and the 4 of Wands reversed. Yes. Okay. So that once again talks about maybe some issues in the home, like we were talking about earlier. So advice, pile 1, about becoming more of this person, of who you're meant to become. There's something you're meant to share more with the world about your struggles and your fights and your battles. The 5 of Swords typically is about like an argument, but I almost see that as you having like triumphed over a lot of battles earlier on in life, and you're meant to share that with the world. I think so far you've been a little bit reluctant to share because maybe you think, oh, my story isn't important enough, or no one will care, kind of self-defeating beliefs like that. But the Hermit reversed is a call to action to share more about your story and your life regarding conflicts and battles that you've fought. Okay, I think that's also that mentorship thing kind of comes in again. And then we have the Four of Wands reversed, which is about stability. Sometimes it can mean also something about happiness at home. So in every action you take, pile 1, think about what would bring more happiness and stability to your home and to your family as it is right now. Okay. You know, maybe it's spending more time with your kids if you've been really busy lately and you have kids, or with your partner if you've been really busy or they've been really busy. You know, maybe it's once you gain that financial stability or success we've seen with the Pentacles cards earlier, making your home as cozy and the way that you always dreamed it would be. Okay, that you maybe didn't have the opportunity for earlier, things like that. Okay. And let's see, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I also hear something about resolving disputes. I think you're a very good mediator for people, pile 1. And, you know, of course, be always wise when, you know, getting involved in conflicts with other people and like their own business. But I think you have a really, really good sense of justice and sensibility to resolve conflicts, pile 1. So I think if you leaned into that more, and once again, that's kind of that mentorship energy as well, that would also be beneficial into becoming who you're meant to be. And also just sharing yourself more in general with the Hermit reversed, okay? There's a lot of light you have that you can shed to the world and help other people in their journeys. And I really see that as kind of the core of who you're meant to be. Remember I said earlier something about being like wise and sagely? That's literally what the Hermit is. They want you to push more of that even out there. So shed your light more, share more with other people, connect more with other people, the things that you've been through and the knowledge that you have collected, because you even have the Lantern in the Captain card too, with the leadership card. You're meant to shine light as a leader, pile 1. So that is their advice to you. So I hope that reading was helpful for you, pile 1. And if you liked it and if it resonated, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is tradition, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, pile 1, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye. Hello there, my lovely pile number 2. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about who you're meant to become, as well as advice on getting there. As you recall, the pile leader you chose was number 10, Aurora Garden, with the keywords of beginning, initiate, origin. And the first intuitive glimpse I'm gaining from this particular card, pile 2, is part of who you're meant to become is really, I'm hearing it's like a new step on your soul's journey. So, of course, as you know, if you're familiar with the idea of reincarnation, we live many different lives here on Earth to learn different things. And what I'm seeing for you, pile 2, is this particular life comes across to me as like the first chapter of a new book in the trilogy of your life. Does that kind of, where I guess I should say like your soul's life. Okay, does that kind of make sense? Like, it's like there are many things that you're just starting to learn that are like the beginning inciting incident for many future lives from this point forward. It's like a certain phase in your soul's development. And I think that's why beginning, initiate, and origin come out here as keywords in this card, because it's like, they keep saying newborn. And it's not that you haven't had lives here on Earth before, pile 2, but it's like there's just so much in this life that is new to your soul, that are just experiences that you haven't really gone through before on Earth. Okay. So let's unveil a little bit more about what this new book in the trilogy of your life is, or your soul's life, like I said. First, I'm actually going to draw tarot cards. I have been changing my method a little bit. I used to do oracle cards first. Now I do tarot cards first. I find it works a little bit more intuitively. So, Spirit coming forward for my wonderful pile 2. Glimpsing into their Akashic records. Who are they meant to become in this life? Let's get a story from beginning, inciting incident, to the climax. Okay, well, for sure that one. We have the Devil reversed. Very interesting, pile 2. The Devil reversed is your first card, which is all about releasing ourselves from the things that hold us back or bind us. Okay, like we have the 2 figures that are bound by chains to the devil. Very interesting first card, pile 2. So, could be that earlier on in your life you dealt with a lot of restrictions, a lot of being held back in certain ways. Could have been, you know, things from maybe not the happiest family when you were growing up or the happiest childhood. Could have been addictions is another interpretation of the devil. But I see that you already kind of have broken through them, or part of your trajectory is overcoming them because the devil is reversed, pile 2. Okay. Second card is the Eight of Pentacles reversed. Okay. That is about needing to put more hard work into things, or things having been a struggle. Too much work. Can also be a message sometimes of being wary of time and effort you're investing into things that aren't giving you equal output to what you've put into them. We have the Queen of Wands reversed. Okay, as the heart of the matter, confidence. Yeah, you've had quite the life, pile 2. A lot more struggle, and I don't want to demean any struggle whatsoever for any of my piles. But at least compared to pile 1 so far, you had a lot tougher life is what I'm seeing. And apologies for the sticky note here. It came off another card. I've had to kind of cover the nudity of some of the cards. So I'm going to keep this just in case a card that isn't covered comes up, and then I'll cover it really quick. But you received the Three of Wands. Okay. And then last but not least, we have the Two of Wands reversed. Look at all this fire, pile 2. You have 3 wands, which is the suit of fire in tarot. Fire, 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 ambition and confidence and courage. So what I'm seeing for you, pile 2, is we already talked about breaking through addictions or things that bind us early on in life because of the devil reversed being your first card, okay? You had a rocky start, I can tell you that much. I can already see that, like I said, compared to pile 1, you know, not to diminish their struggles, but you've had a pretty rocky life, so of course my sympathies, pile 2, for everything that you've been through, especially when it comes to putting hard work into things with that Eight of Pentacles reversed. It seems like you maybe have kind of invested a lot of time into things in life that haven't paid out, you know, especially earlier on, okay? Or maybe you, some of you, it's like you worked a lot of jobs where you weren't appreciated enough. That can be one manifestation of the Eight of Pentacles reversed, okay? But what it really comes down to, pile 2, with the Queen of Wands reversed, is the heart of the matter, the court card here. A lot of that was a lesson in becoming a more confident person. I think you're still on the way there because Queen of Wands reversed is still, well, reversed. You know, she's not upright quite yet. I think that's what you're working on kind of right now is your spirit guides wanting you to stand up for yourself more, for you to feel more self-esteem and confidence in yourself. And I think part of what I'm hearing is a lot of you are really difficult on yourself because of these earlier struggles in life. And your spirit guides are kind of nudging you more in the direction of be proud of how far that you've come already, rather than thinking about all that you had to go through in terms of, like, it's almost the sort of sense, pile 2, I'm getting that it's like you believe that because you struggled so much that it was an inherent flaw on your part as to why it occurred. Like, for example, if you've had a lot of like failed romantic relationships, I think the inclination for some of you might be, oh, it was always my fault, I wasn't good enough. Or, you know, maybe you have been let go from, you know, a job that you really valued, and you think, God, it was my fault, like I'm flawed. Like that inherent instant quick reaction to believe it's my fault. Nothing was out of my control. It was completely all in my hands and I failed. That kind of lack of self-esteem and that disbelief in self, okay? That's what that Queen of Wands reversed tells me. 2, if, you know, maybe you did struggle with the like addictions in the past, especially like I said with the devil reversed having been the first card, pile 2, you know, part of you might feel ashamed for those years of your life, okay? Or ashamed of the, it's like kind of like I was saying before, like just ashamed of the things that you've been through. But your spirit guides are saying, rather than looking at it in the way of what's the best way to put it, pile 2? Rather than looking at it in the way of, I'm ashamed that I went through all of this and that I had struggles, whereas it's like other people didn't struggle as much. They want you to look at it more in the way of pat yourself on the back for enduring as much as you have, okay? Because once again, I'll remind you, pile 2, Aurora Garden, beginning, initiate, origin. One of the reasons I'm hearing that this particular life has been difficult for you is because you're in that new chapter of a new book in your soul's journey and story. Okay. There's a lot of struggles in this life because there's lessons that are very new to your soul. Like, for example, if you did have an addiction of some sort, it's almost like every life on earth that you've had up until this point that really maybe wasn't an issue. But now in this life, it's very like new to your soul. And so it took a little bit longer maybe than others to overcome it or to avoid addictions or things like that. Or it doesn't have to be an addiction pile too. It can be something, maybe that you're not the most proud of yourself for, but pat yourself on the back, okay? Because you're meant to become someone who endured, who has survived. You're meant to become someone that has gone through hell and back, is just how I'll put it, pile 2, because that's kind of what I'm seeing here, okay? And your spirit guides are very proud of you, they're saying. And you should be proud of yourself for, even if you are still struggling with some of those things, pile 2, you're well on your way to getting better, okay? You're well on your way to overcoming all of these things that life has thrown at you, because it would have crushed a lot of weaker people, okay, is what I'm hearing. So part of that life lesson of who you're becoming is that Queen of Wands energy, turning it upright and saying, I am positive and confident in myself and who I am. I kind of, personally, pile 2, I liken it to, when we think of a hero in a story who is like a warrior that's been through a lot of battles. Do we look down on them for the battles that they've been through, or do we look at their battle scars and go, whoa, that person's kind of tough. That's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of what I'm hearing your spirit guides are saying here is like, turn the way that you view yourself. That's part of who you're meant to become, is someone who looks at themselves in the mirror and doesn't see someone who is weak, but sees someone who is strong, tough, things like that. Okay. And then we have the 3 of Wands and the 2 of Wands reversed at the very end here. I haven't even talked about those yet. The 3 of Wands is all about taking action on plans that we've made for the future, but with the 2 of Wands reversed next to it, pile 2. It's almost like an inability to make those plans. I think part of your struggles have been wanting more from life, have been wanting to make progress, but it's like a lot of these life lessons have thrown these curveballs where it's like things just get in the way of your plans, okay? So part of who you're meant to become is navigating that really tough challenge of getting to your goals with more curveballs thrown at you than the average person. And once again, pile 2, like, you might kind of groan hearing that because you're like, oh man, why did I have to get the tough life, right? But once again, it's something to be almost proud of, pile 2, or at least your spirit guides are very proud of you for that because, for example, who do you respect more? Someone who walks on a tightrope with a net underneath, or someone who walks on a tightrope with a fire underneath them? Probably you're like, whoa, that person with the fire underneath them instead of the safety net. That's really tough, and I admire everything that they've been through, okay, and how risky it was, things like that. And I do see, after these matters are overcome, pile 2, and maybe they already have been already overcome, each one of you might be a little bit different watching this. It's like that 2 of Wands reversed will flip, and it's like, okay, the world's in your hands. You can go forward with those plans. It's just part of your life lesson. Who you're meant to become is learning how to overcome obstacles in the path to your dreams and the plans that you want for the future. Okay, let's look into the Citadel Oracle now. Talk about more about who you're meant to become. Okay, we have this one is calling our name. Very interesting. We have the Weaver with the element of water. Our first water card today. The Weaver is rediscovery and transition. What did I tell you, pile 2? I was like, I think this life is kind of like a new phase in your spirit's development, like a new book and a new trilogy, okay? Little bit different than what you've been through before, and that's maybe one of the reasons I think it's been so tough, because it's kind of like, okay, you were on the 101 class before in terms of your soul's development, and now you're on the 201. Things got a little bit more ramped up in difficulty, okay? So I think that's where the transition comes in, but we also have rediscovery. And rediscovery is all about learning things that you thought were lost, or finding things that you thought were lost, okay? I think there's things that were lost to you earlier in life that you're meant to find, okay? It also makes me think of, and mythology comes up a lot in my readings because a lot of studies I did in college. And when I hear the Weaver, I think of, I believe it was Penelope was her name. She was the wife of Odysseus in the Odyssey. And when Odysseus was gone away at sea for so many years, I think it was over a decade, right? Don't quote me on that. Penelope was his loyal wife at home. And she had these suitors that would come and are like, oh, your husband's never coming back. Marry me. Oh, Odysseus will never come back. You need to marry someone right now. Because those suitors wanted her money and her estate, or Odysseus's money and estate, effectively. So what Penelope did, pile 2, was every single day she said, I'm weaving I believe it was a burial shroud for Odysseus, and I will not choose a husband to marry until I'm done. So every night she would unweave it, and then she would reweave it. So it was like she never actually made progress. And the reason I'm mentioning that pile 2 is because a lot of times we feel like just because we're not moving forward in momentum doesn't mean that we're not making progress. Penelope's progress, even though she was undoing her weaving every single day, really was buying her more time for her husband to come home and having that hope and faith that he would. Because there was no guarantee, technically, pile 2, right? She never knew if Odysseus would ever come home. You know, he was out at sea after, I think it was the Trojan War, right? Completely out at sea. You know, he could have been eaten, he could have drowned, he could have been killed, he could have been, insert bad end here. But she had that hope and that faith that things would get better. So she kept her weaving every single day, even when things seemed really bleak. So yeah, why I'm mentioning this pile 2 is it kind of reminds me of your story of things always seeming really bleak. Things always seeming like they're never going to get better. But keeping that hope and that faith, even if it feels like you're unraveling every little step of progress along the way, thinking you're not really getting anywhere, but technically it is leading to something and a good outcome someday. Like Penelope, when Odysseus finally came home. So we have interesting Midas, miser, light attributes, entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold, delight in sharing life's riches. Shadow attributes, hoarding money and emotions, obsessive fear of losing your wealth. Okay, so pile 2, part of who you're meant to become too, is someone who is an entrepreneur, someone who is very skilled with business. Someone who can turn their skills into money in a way that is fulfilling to the soul and not just the pocket. So if you struggled a lot with money earlier in life, pile 2. Part of who you're meant to become is someone that's successful in this area, and then having almost the opposite problem. What do I do with all these riches? Okay. And those riches can be different things. You know, for some of you, it could literally mean having lots of actual physical money. For some of you, it can mean the riches of, being fulfilled in something that really makes you happy rather than just a job you drag yourself to work every day wishing you didn't have to, right? Something you actually enjoy doing. So there's a little bit of a career message here, too. I think that's where that 8 of Pentacles might be reflected. You know, earlier we talked about maybe having to work a lot of jobs that were just grueling, that were not rewarding to you. So part of your path, and you're probably happy to hear this, is moving towards something that is more fulfilling, okay? So if you did struggle a lot with money earlier in life, pile 2, part of who you're meant to become is someone that has an abundance of financial means, okay? And then we also have interesting wisdom in play. Number 3, our intuition knows more than we do. She's blind. She's pouring the water simply by listening and by feeling. She's got a mask over her eyes. Interesting. And I think that harkens back, pile 2, to a lot of those struggles that you've had that have been more difficult than the average person has had to deal with. Other people walk through life able to see the obstacles. You've had to walk through life with a lot of blindness, okay? A lot of not being able to see the curveballs ahead of time and still having to dance gracefully around them and keep things going. Okay. Yeah, and I know I said this before, I don't want to be too repetitive, pile 2, but your spirit guides are really proud of you for this life. As much as you might feel like, oh, there's nothing to be proud of, there really is, because this is the life I'm reading right here of somebody that has had to do. I mean, I'll use another video game metaphor. I use those a lot in my readings. So for those of you that are not familiar with video games, there's different difficulty levels, okay? You're on hardcore mode. You're on hardcore survival mode with this particular life. But who you're meant to become is someone beyond those struggles, who made it past those struggles, that tightrope over the fire, okay? Also, tapping into your intuition more. It almost kind of gives me High Priestess vibes, pile 2. All right? Our intuition knows more than we do. It's almost to the point where you can kind of sense danger ahead of time. I get the sense that you're very, like, street smart because of things that you've been through. And so part of that, too, I think, is you teaching other people how to be wise when it comes to their intuition. If you haven't already, pile 2, it might be good for you to, what's the word? Explore. That's the word I want to use. It might be good for you to explore teaching other people a lot of things based on the lessons that you've learned, okay? Maybe if for some reason I'm hearing self-defense. I don't know if some of you have had to be in like self-defense situations, okay, or maybe dangerous situations, and it's like teaching other people to have a good street smart common sense for danger so that they know, like, you know, for example, you know, here's how to proof your home against burglars, or here's how to protect yourself in a street fight or something like that. You know, teaching some sort of martial art, I'm hearing, very interestingly. Yeah. But yeah, you're very clever. You're very sharp because of the struggles that you've been through, pile 2. And then I do want to cap off the reading with advice, but I want to make sure we didn't miss anything about who you're meant to become. So just to summarize, I did kind of ramble here and there just to different directions. You're someone who is starting a new book in the trilogy of your soul's journey. And so I think you've had a lot of difficulties. You've been living life. This particular life has been hardcore survival mode compared to, I feel like, a lot of your other lives that you've lived, pile 2. Maybe having to struggle with feeling very chained earlier in life by either addiction or being kind of like stuck with money, like holding you back and your ideas and your hopes and your dreams back, things along those lines. Whatever made you feel restricted, I feel like you've had a lot of issues with that in the past, or maybe you're even still working through them right now, pile 2. But who you're meant to become is someone beyond those struggles, someone who takes life's curveballs. Ooh, that was difficult to say for some reason. Kind of a seashells by the seashore. Somebody's meant to take those curveballs and dance around them gracefully with an almost sixth sense of intuition because of the struggles that you've been through. Someone who is proud of their progress, even if it feels like they've just been walking in circles in a hamster wheel every single day. Okay, like we were talking about with Penelope on weaving every single night until Odysseus could come home, okay? Someone who eventually down the road has entrepreneurial success, sharing your life's riches because you know what it's like not to have anything, or to have less at least. Being more confident in yourself and working with those curveballs that get in the way of the dreams that you want to take steps towards, okay? Someone very crafty, very clever, very wise about getting to where you need to go on the most difficult of roads. Okay. That's who you're meant to be, pile 2, I'm seeing. All right. Also something about martial arts we talked about. So to cap off the reading, let's talk about advice on how to get there, at least the parts that you haven't necessarily achieved yet. So Spirit, 3 cards of advice for them. How do they become more of who they're meant to become? What is your advice for them? I know confidence is at least one of the pieces of advice, working on confidence with the Queen of Wands. And then we have, let's see, the Hierophant reversed. Can mean something to do with letting go of tradition. It can also mean something about authority failing you. Okay. We'll see the context with the other cards. Queen of Pentacles reversed. Interesting. Maybe a little bit more work to do with finances and career. And then last but not least, we have the 10 of Cups. Happily ever after in relationships. Okay. So part of your advice, pile 2, when it comes to becoming more of who you're meant to become, wherever you might be in your particular path, is I'd hear the word self-reliance. Or the phrase, I should say, when I look at that Hierophant reversed, because sometimes it can represent the inability to have faith in authority because authority might be corrupt or fail you, okay? I don't know if maybe you're planning on living a little bit more of a life away from society a bit, or away from the influence of government. It could also mean bucking tradition, okay? So the Hierophant can, reversed, can mean letting go of what always has been. So perhaps that's moving away from the way that your family has been living their lifestyle for many generations. Like, say they always lived in the city, you're going to move out rural and have a rural life, or vice versa. Maybe it's always been rural for your family, you move to the city. Breaking traditions in that way would be helpful for you along this path of getting towards that success, getting towards, over a little bit of these challenges. And then also we have the Queen of Pentacles reversed, pile 2. That is all about internal security when it comes to material things, okay? I think if you already have attained some financial success, pile 2, I have a feeling deep down inside you still have a feeling of lack because of the struggle in the life that you've been through. So part of the Queen of Pentacles reversed is advice to appreciate more of what you already have, okay? Or to keep working on things that will bring you towards feeling more internally secure about your finances, saving more money when you can, things like that. Putting a little bit of money away every single day towards a dream of yours, say opening a business, like that entrepreneurial spirit we talked about earlier, something along those lines that would also help you overcome some of these struggles to who you're meant to become. And then last but not least, we have the 10 of Cups, pile 2. The 10 of Cups is happily ever after, fulfillment, and wishes granted in relationships, okay? So I don't know if maybe you've kind of put romance on the back burner in life, or it could be like just working with other people or having deep connections with other people in general that are deep and fulfilling, okay? Either way, no matter where you are on that path, work even more towards deeper connections with other people, okay? Specifically, 10 of Cups tends to be like a romantic type card, but I do see that too as in a platonic way. Deep friendships, deep relationships with family members that you get along with, things like that. Look more towards connections with others, okay? And also building a life together with, say a partner of yours if you haven't already, okay? Or even leaning into that more if you have, things along those lines, okay? So, it seems like even though it might feel difficult to rely on other people, because I do hear, or I heard that phrase earlier about self-reliance, pile 2. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is learning when to be self-reliant and when to put your faith and trust in other people to help you carry the burden, so that you both can achieve your dreams faster, is what I'm hearing from your spirit guides, okay? So things like that. I believe that is it. Let's just make sure I didn't miss anything. And I think part of where you're meant to go, I'm just, the one last thing is I'm drawn to that rediscovery phrase from the Weaver card. Returning to something that you thought you lost. I think part of your path forward, pile 2, is something that you thought you would never have all the way from childhood, or that you lost in childhood, and regaining it. So think about what that might mean for you. And that will also help you on your path unto you're meant to become. So, I hope you liked the reading. I hope it resonated with you. If it did, please like and comment and subscribe, pile 2, if you've not done so already. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day and a lot easier life path from this point on. Crossing my fingers for you, pile 2. And I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 2. Hello there, my lovely pile number 3. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about who you're meant to become, as well as advice on getting there. As I recall, the pile leader you chose was number 8, the Liminal Dance, Delicacy, Fragility, and Transience. So right off the bat already, pile 3, I'm hearing part of who you're meant to become is someone with a sense of grace, is really the word coming forward for you. And what I mean when I say grace is someone who is very good about balancing many different aspects of their life instead of focusing very heavily on just one, say being really invested in work but neglecting other things, or invested in relationships but neglecting other things, someone who knows precisely where to invest their energy to get to the utmost outcome in every single area of life, okay? So that could mean earlier in life that you struggled with, focusing a little bit too much on pouring yourself into work but neglecting other things. Like, for example, earlier maybe you were really, nose to the grindstone about your career and kind of ground yourself to dusted bones and just worn out and burned out and stressed because of you wanting to be successful in career. And then you maybe learned, or maybe you're currently learning, pile 3, about, hey, I also need to invest in self-care. I also need to invest in, my relationships. I also need to invest in my hobbies, in my fun time, and my skills otherwise outside of work. Just as an example, that might be different for every single one of you, but either way, I feel like, a lot of you did struggle with focusing too much in one area earlier in life. And so part of who you're meant to become is more along the lines of, like I said, that graceful person who knows how to dance and multitask between different things with that grace in terms of how much time and energy you pour into things, okay? We also see with the key terms of delicacy and fragility someone who is meant to really appreciate the delicate balance of life, okay? Some of you, I get the feeling that maybe you've had a lot of death already in your life, and I mean that in terms of, like, a hospice nurse is one thing coming through, like working with the dying, okay? Could also be, maybe you had death very early on in your life, like, say, a parent or grandparent when you were very young, things along those lines. And so it was like you already kind of knew from an early age just how fragile and valuable life is, because a lot of people don't learn that until they really lose the first person that they really deeply care about. They don't understand the value of the time we do have with people because we always think they'll be there, right? And so you're meant to become that person who I think might even teach other people more about that fragility of life, okay? Could also be that you work in the health field in general, or you're meant to, because a lot of what people that work in the health field do is helping people get that balance back with the fragility of life towards, well, staying alive, obviously, as well, the blunt way of putting it, but also, for those of you who say work in hospice, transitioning people to the other side. Could also be a spiritual thing too. I hear a lot about, like, mediumship is one thing really popping forward, pile 3. Speaking to the dead, giving messages from those who have crossed to the other side to those who are still here, okay? Things like that. And I also see you as someone, if not already, someone who is meant to really understand how thin the veil really is between our world and the others, okay? Someone who understands that death is just a doorway, okay? Really, too, I think you're someone who's always kind of been invested in the mysteries of life. Someone who is meant to unravel answers from what seemed impossible to answer before, okay? Someone who could be maybe even you're interested in archaeology, discovering the secrets of the past. Someone who is interested in, I almost kind of hear you like supernatural stuff, or maybe even leaning into conspiracies a little bit. Maybe you're into stuff like that. Stuff that requires like an analytical mind, pile 3, to unravel the truth behind kind of the veil, right? That's what I hear when I see, like, not only the stone figure in your pile leader, with it's almost like a gateway. I know it kind of looks like Stonehenge, but it looks like a gateway, right? Finding that way towards the other side of truth, okay? And understanding that things are a lot more interconnected than we believe that they are, okay? So, I almost kind of see you as someone who jumps back and forth between the veil a lot, maybe even astral projecting. Mediumship, we already discussed, things like that. Or you're meant to become someone who, I think already pile 3, though, you're already really connected to the other side. So I think that might just be more past energy, but part of your future, who you're meant to become, is maybe manifesting that a little bit more in different ways. A lot of piles today had things related to teaching other people, so that could be one way that it manifests for you, is teaching other people more about mediumship or sharing messages from the other side with other people. Let's see, we have the Queen of Swords first. Okay. Betcha you were shy as a child, weren't you? We have the Hanged Man. Okay, different perspectives. You know, I was like, you see life in a different way, pile 3. You see things from the other side. Look at the Hanged Man. Different perspectives. Okay. It's also a bit of a spirituality related message here. We also think of not only was the traditional depiction of the Hanged Man like a crucifixion, like Jesus on the cross, right? I think also, what's the other association? There's a Norse god. He's the one that discovered the runes. Is that Odin? I believe it's Odin. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I should know this. I'm mostly Scandinavian in terms of blood. Oh god, my ancestors are like, how dare you forget? Anyways, but I think it was Odin. He hung himself on the tree for a certain amount of days and he discovered the magic of runes, something along those lines. That's what I think of when I see the Hanged Man. Someone who discovers things, like I was saying before. Okay, we have the Lovers reversed. Disconnection in relationships. Okay, or mending relationships, finding love. Could be that so far in life you've struggled a lot with finding love. Part of your lesson of who you're meant to become is someone who overcomes that by reversing the Lovers back to upright. And let's see, we have the Nine of Wands reversed. Okay, losing steam, finding determination. Okay, and last but not least, we have the Sun. Very beautiful. Okay, gorgeous. Light and truth. Remember I was talking about like you discovering, unraveling mysteries, unveiling truths, okay? Like I believe it was Odin did and discovering the runes, okay? Becoming enlightened almost, right? Yeah, if I had to summarize everything right here, pile 3, part of who you're meant to become is someone who knows the truth, someone who discovers truths. I know that's kind of ad nauseum, I've already repeated that a bit, but your cards are coming out with a lot of synchronicities here, especially with the Sun being the final card, okay? So, if you haven't already, which I get the feeling a lot of you already have, because I think it's just something inherent to your nature, just wanting to see the truth behind everything, okay? Some of you might even be scientists a little bit. Maybe that's where a little bit of that health-related work comes in. Maybe you're more on the research side of health, okay? That, or in the very least, if you work more directly with people in terms of health, you still have that curious mind of, well, why do they have this disease? How do I cure this? How do I think about it in an unconventional way? Like maybe you even try to use cures that aren't conventional, and sometimes you're like, oh wow, that really worked, even though that's not really the necessarily the main suggested cure for a certain disease. Something along those lines. Maybe a little bit of holistic health. But yes, pile 3. Very ahead of your time as well, I'm hearing. I think because of your ability to peer to the other side, okay? I think maybe there's a little bit, you almost kind of give me starseed vibes, pile 3. I get someone who feels a little bit disconnected from society because of, I want to say spiritual advancement is the word. I think that's maybe also why some of you were very shy as children with that Queen of Swords reversed energy at the very beginning, okay? Someone who is a Queen of Swords reversed and early on in life is someone who feels the inability to speak their truth, okay? But at the very end of that trajectory, you have truth. So part of who you're meant to become is speaking that truth, not just unraveling, but sharing it with others, being a light beacon to others about, here is what I found, okay? And I think deep down, that's part of what really satisfies you, pile 3, on a soul level, is sharing knowledge with others, okay? Be it knowledge of the other side, messages from the other side, discovering new cures for things that maybe people didn't realize before, okay? Or say you work in archaeology, discovering something new about a civilization that no one else knew before. Okay, things along those lines. So you're an explorer, you're an adventurer, you're meant to be someone who is a scholar almost, pile 3, someone who uses the mind and speaks it out more. I think maybe you tended towards more not sharing things earlier on in life, but you're definitely meant to share them, okay? And then we have the Hanged Man too. that is a little bit about the seeing things from a different perspective. But what I'm also hearing, pile 3, is you're meant to be someone who flips other people's perspectives on things too. So I won't repeat too much about the sharing knowledge thing, because it kind of comes hand in hand. As sharing knowledge means flipping other people's perspectives on things, but that is a big part of who you're meant to be. Someone too who I think, you know, you might come off as, and I say this with the most positive connotation, pile 3, maybe a little bit quirky to other people. Okay, maybe that's why you were also shy as a child. But at the same time, that quirkiness is because, well, once again, I hear Starseed, but also I think in general, just you see life in such a different way, and you were always meant to in this particular life, pile 3, that I think, you know, people that don't see life exactly the way you do, or at least at the level that you do, like I said, spiritual advancement, it confuses them. And it's not a flaw with you, pile 3. It's more so you're just maybe, this is what my spiritualist pastor always used to say, a little bit more higher up on the spiritual growth ladder than other people. Okay, so that's not a flaw with you. That's more part of what you're meant to share with other people, is how to also move up on the spiritual growth ladder. Okay. And 2, we have the Lovers reversed, okay? Like I was saying before, perhaps earlier in life you struggled a lot with romantic relationships or connecting with other people, maybe out of a feeling of that quirkiness, feeling awkward, feeling shy, feeling a little bit low on, you know, like feeling like an inability to connect with others, okay? And or maybe you tried and things just didn't work out, okay? So part of who you're meant to become is someone who does have a very close romantic relationship with somebody. So some of you might have already gotten to that point, okay? And if so, more of what you're meant to work on, or who you're meant to become, is someone who is dedicatedly entangled with that relationship, okay? Working on it, putting effort into it, and receiving that effort back. Because, yeah, what was that someone said the other day? And it was really poetic, pile 3, and I feel inclined to share it with you. Something about how falling in love with somebody is really finding the best portal for Spirit's love to manifest to you on Earth. Or they didn't put it exactly that way, but it was something along those lines, pile 3. And I think that's who you're meant to be, is someone who does find that portal. That soulmate is probably the best word as we used in culture. To feel that godly love here on Earth. So that probably makes a lot of you very happy, because not everybody really has a close relationship in life like that. But I think that's part of who you're meant to be, pile 3, is someone who does very willingly entangle yourself with other people, despite that initial maybe disconnection from other people on Earth when you were younger, okay? Finding that deep love, finding godly love in the portal that is a soulmate, okay? And then we have the 9 of Wands reversed, okay? That is something about losing steam or lacking determination, okay? Part of who you're meant to become, pile 3, is someone who endures, who keeps going when the going gets tough. And this might depend on where you're at in your particular path, pile 3. Some of you might still be dealing with this. Some of you might have already had this as like a past lesson that you're already over. But either way, it's a lesson regarding not giving up. Perhaps when you were younger, you struggled a lot with, like the moment it seemed like there was a roadblock in something that you were trying to achieve, you were more likely to throw out the attempt and give up than you were to keep going, okay? So part of who you're meant to become, unless you're already there, like I said, some of you are a little bit different on this journey as to where you are in the trajectory, is learning to keep going despite the obstacles, okay? That could be related to that love, like we were saying, because being next to the Lovers, right? Also to obstacles to sharing that truth and unraveling that truth to others that we discussed with the Sun, okay? Things like that. So let's also draw some Oracle cards, pile 3, about who you're meant to become. I have 2 Archetypes decks. I thought that was pretty neat for this type of reading. So first, the Citadel Oracle is the Scholar. Didn't I say to you guys you're meant to be? I can't remember if that was pile 2 or you. but I'm right on the money. Investigation and research. I was like, you're truth unravelers, pile 3. I knew it. Okay, I knew it. We have the element of air, which of course is very, very, very common for scholarly intelligent pursuits, because the element of air is logic and intelligence and speaking well, communication. You're meant to be a scholar, pile 3. You're meant to be someone who discovers things, who investigates things. What did I tell you? You research things too, don't you? About you have a hobby where you research stuff. Yep, I was right damn on the money. I was like, this person, pile 3, they're mystery hunters, I bet. And look at that, you have the scholar. So yeah, some of you might be quite scientific. Some of you might be into researching things, like I was saying, something along those lines. Okay, truth. Big, big, big thing with you, pile 3. I love you already. Don't tell the other piles, pile 3, but if I had to pick a best buddy out of all the 3 piles today, you probably would be the person I'd get along with the most, but lovely. I also like unraveling mysteries myself, pile 3, so could also be that you're someone meant to gather a lot of education in life as well. We think of scholars as people who, not even necessarily from university or college, pile 3. Can also be knowledge in terms of just experience in life. We have, liberator. Once again, pile 3. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it's just the same thing kind of again and again, and I apologize if I repeat myself. But okay, so we have liberator, light attributes, freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs. What did I tell you? And then releasing negative thought patterns. Shadow attributes, imposing tyranny over those you claim to liberate, ignoring legitimate constraints. And look at that, what she's holding in her hand, pile 3. She's holding a torch like a fire of light. And it's literally rays shining off of that. Pile 3. If you have discovered something, please do not hold it back. Please share your thoughts and your truths with the world, okay? That is precisely what you're meant to do. You're supposed to shine light. I mean, even, okay, I'm going back to the scholar for a second, but even look at that, with the eye and the light shining around it like a sun. I don't know if maybe you have a lot of sun symbolism in your life that has come up. Even in the lovers, there's a sun behind them, I just realized, duh. Okay. And even, too, you see, like, the Stonehenge here, right? Or at least kind of a partial Stonehenge. That's the thing, pile 3. For those of you that aren't familiar with why Stonehenge is the way that it is because at certain events during the year, the equinoxes and the solstices, the sun, it either rises or it sets. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the sun either rises or sets dead center in the middle of those stone pillars. It was a way of tracking the calendar of the year, at least partially, okay? So that it's like truth shining through, light shining through, okay? Like the sun. So it's like truth shining through that gateway. You're the gateway in which truth is supposed to be shared with the world, pile 3. So please share your truth, okay? Let's draw the last card before I get too far on that. I'm getting really excited over your pile. This is cool. And I already kind of see what card is popping out. We have... Oh my god. I'm sorry, pile 3. Oh my god, you have another light symbolism. Lantern. Oh my god. Okay. Girl. Or boy. Whatever your gender is. 44, lantern. Consciousness is light. She's holding lanterns. She's blindfolded, which I think that Norse god, is it Odin? I think it's Odin, pretty sure. Wasn't he blinded? He was blinded, wasn't he? Or one of his eyes was taken. I can't remember. I need to research that after this. But sharing light. An advanced soul, too, because this is the last card in this particular deck, pile 3. You're an advanced soul. You have already gone through a heck of a lot of lessons that other people have not. And I think that's why maybe you felt kind of disconnected from the world. But yeah, light worker too. Maybe that's where all the light imagery is coming through. Pile 3, like I said, starseed is another thing coming through. I think you're meant to You know, you're one of those people, pile 3, where you're meant to be someone who, even just by the virtue of being who you are, you help Earth and other souls here out because of your spiritual growth that you've already gone through, okay? You are a shining beacon of a soul, okay? You are someone who is supposed to show the truth of the other side to other people, okay? Spiritually and even scientifically, I'm hearing, in the material world with that scholar, okay? And once again, I'm sorry, I'm just repeating myself, but there's so many synchronicities in this reading, pile 3, okay? So if you were ever doubting before about anything regarding sharing truth with the world, please do not, because this reading is literally like light, 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 light. Even the Stonehenge, light. Things like that, okay? Beautiful. You're supposed to be a lantern, pile 3, shedding light to others. So, last but not least, unfortunately that card didn't reveal too much more because it was kind of the same thing. But we do have kind of a mini advice section at the end of how do you even become more of who you're meant to be. Pile 3. So 3 cards on that, Spirit, please. Dipping into their Akashic records, what advice would you give them of how to shed even more light? King of Pentacles, mastery of the physical. Okay, so something to do with your career, something to do with your finances, something to do with what's around you. Knight of Cups, following your heart. And the Devil, very interesting. Which is, in fact, pile 3, the original name for the devil was Lucifer, right? And Lucifer literally means light bringer. You guessed it. But, yes, but the traditional meaning of the devil in tarot is more of a negative connotation. It's more about the things that hold us back. Literally, look, he's holding his light. He's holding the light and he's restricting it, right? Okay, I won't repeat it too much. Don't hold yourself back. Share things freely. It's kind of what the devil means here, okay? Not being chained to restriction. Letting things be free, okay? And being wary of what is holding you back, okay? In terms of maybe it's a lack of confidence in the things that you've discovered or the things that you want to share. Maybe it's you are in an environment that doesn't allow you to share what you want to share or that you're meant to share, okay? So be wary of what cages are around you and break free from them is one piece of advice. Number 2, the Knight of Cups, follow your heart, pile 3. That's just kind of a repeated thing. Once again, I'm sorry. But that's what the Knight of Cups means. He takes action with water, which is the emotions and relationships, okay? Whatever you feel in your heart is right, take that action. That's another piece of advice to you from your spirit guides. And then last but not least, we have, what was the first card? The King of Pentacles, okay? The Master of Earth. The master of the material in terms of finances and career. See where you could align your career more with these goals, pile 3. Where can you align what you're doing in your job or whatever you do to make money with bringing that light and that truth to the world? That is so valuable, what I'm hearing from your spirit guides, okay? Connect your soul purpose more with your goals when it comes to your career, your finances, okay? And that will help bring you more into who you're meant to be. So, wow, that was quite the synchronistic reading, pile 3. Holy crap, we had light and suns everywhere, even with the devil, like I said, which Lucifer means light bringer, okay? And also, he was associated with, was it the morning and the evening star Venus? I think that's right. Which is the planet of love. We had the lovers earlier, so don't forget that too, okay? Connecting in relationships with your truth, okay? Finding spirituality and godly love through the portal, that which is a soulmate, okay? Things like that. Make sure I didn't miss anything before we sign off for the reading. I think it's pretty straightforward, pile 3, but beautiful. Light bringers, okay? So, if you liked that reading and if it resonated with you, please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is tradition on the channel, Pile 3, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, Pile 3.